At the very heart of the Christian life is what we believe. Scripture says in Romans that if we believe in our heart and confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and was resurrected from the dead, then we will be saved. Scripture also says in Ephesians that we are saved by grace, not by our works, so that no one can boast, but by the grace of God through our faith in Jesus Christ. So, if at the heart of Christianity is all about what we believe, then when it comes to the heart of a church, it should also be about what we believe. So any church that you might visit has a core set of beliefs. So do we. And so here's what I want to do for you, because I believe that clarity is a gift. So I want to give you the gift of clarity as you're on the front end of this journey, just to be upfront with you about what we believe the Bible teaches us and how that determines the way that we follow Jesus. As we've mentioned before, finding a home church is a big deal, and there's lots of factors that go into deciding where that home church will be. And for some of you, the biggest factor just might be what we believe. And that's a fair question. What does Impact City Church believe about the Scriptures, and how does that determine the way that we express our faith in the community? Now, one of the questions I get most often is, what kind of church is this? And I know what that really means is this a denominational church? And that can be confusing because there's all different types of denominations. If you look at the Christian church as a whole, there's really two sides of Christianity. One is called the Catholic Church or Catholicism, and there's different variations within the Catholic Church. And then there's another side called the Protestant Church, which was birthed in the 1500s through Martin Luther's Reformation movement. And within the Protestant Church, there's different denominations, some that you're probably familiar with. Maybe you've heard of the Methodist Church or the Baptist Church or the Pentecostal Church or the Lutheran Church, and the list does go on and on. Well, where does Impact City fall on that spectrum? We're actually in a really unique segment of the Christian church called the non-denominational church. Now, here's what's interesting about that. It's actually the fastest growing segment of the Christian church. In the 1970s, most people attended what they called mainline denominational churches, like some of the ones I listed earlier. Only 3% of people attended a non-denominational church. Today, in 2025, 35% of Christians attend a non-denominational church. What that means is God is really doing something in this segment of His church. Now, because we're non-denominational doesn't mean that we don't have a core set of beliefs or doctrine that we follow. What it means is we put the main emphasis on the Scripture and following the ways of Jesus. Now, how that ends up playing out in the life of our church is not that we have a bunch of people that come from other non-denominational churches. In fact, we have people that come to Impact City from all different walks of faith. It really has become like an interdenominational church because there are people that maybe grew up in the Baptist church or grew up in the Pentecostal church or grew up in the Methodist church. And so they have certain maybe belief systems or certain preferences when it comes to their expression of faith, but they're coming together in unity to serve Jesus and to get to know Him better. Part of our DNA here at Impact City Church, realizing that people are coming from all different walks of faith, like I mentioned, different backgrounds of faith, is we've made the choice to major on the majors and to minor on the minors, meaning that there are some core theological beliefs that unite us as a church. And so we want to share those with you, but rather than me just reading them to you, we're going to make them available to you. Right next to this video in the description, you can download a PDF with our statement of beliefs, or you can also click on the link to go to our Learn More page, and you can even see some additional videos about our belief system. As you dive deeper in some of our belief statements, I imagine you might have some questions. And let me just tell you, the best question anyone can ask is why. I'm always open to the question, hey, why do you believe this way? Or why don't you believe that way? I think having a conversation about our beliefs and understanding of Scripture is a healthy part of discipleship. In fact, that reminds me of my friends Brandon and Amanda, who years ago, when they first started attending our church, they were coming from a particular denomination, and they learned we were non-denominational, and they just had lots of questions. And so one day after church, they said, hey, Pastor Justin, we're really considering getting more involved at Impact City, but we have some questions. It's like, well, great. I may or may not have all the answers, but I'll do my best to help you out. And I said, well, let's do this. After church one day, why don't you bring your questions and we'll go through all of them. Now, I don't think I knew what I signed up for that day, because when we sat down after church, they had 3 pages front and back full of theological questions. And it was a really amazing, productive conversation. We worked through all of their major questions, and they felt like they were ready to move forward and get involved here at Impact City Church. So if you do have some questions about our major theological beliefs, or maybe there's something that's really important to you that wasn't listed, that might fall in what we consider some minor theological beliefs, but they're still important, feel free to ask those questions as well. And one of our pastors or myself would love to follow up with you and walk you through your questions. Before we wrap up this video, I want to share a story with you that has to do with this declaration of faith. What I'm holding in my hands is actually a document that goes back to the year 1833. Now, this declaration of faith was penned by the leadership of the Baptist Church of Refugee Road that was just down the street from here. Now, if we fast forward a century and a half to the year 2014, God would actually merge that Baptist church with Impact City Church. What God did was something that only God could truly do, but I think is at the heart of our core beliefs. There was a Baptist church that was aging, and there was this new church in town that was growing. And in a way that only God could, He merged the oldest church in Pataskala with the newest church in Pataskala. And I think the part that amazed me is they came from the Baptist denomination, and we didn't. When Minnie and I had an opportunity to sit down with the elders of the Baptist church, what we found is we had a lot in common. There was a lot about our core beliefs that were the same. Yeah, we might prefer different worship music, or we might have some different practices when it comes to how often we partake in communion, or what maybe our local outreach might look like. And yeah, there might even been some minor theological differences. But because we were able to minor on the minors and major on the majors, we allowed God to do a miracle. Like I said, He merged the oldest church with the newest church, and because of it, we were able to make a significant impact in our community. And God continues to grow this church. So here's how I would encourage you. As you're deciding where you're going to make your home church, I think it's time for you to decide what's most important to you. What are your non-negotiables when it comes to your faith? What are your major beliefs? And what are some of your minor beliefs? Because there are going to be some things about Impact City Church that maybe doesn't line up with what you've experienced or expected in the past. But my hope is that we can get unified on this vision of helping to connect the city to God and helping to make an impact in your family's life. And I just want to thank you for watching this video and reading more about our beliefs. Not only do I hope it helps you in your decision about your home church, but really it's just an encouragement to you in your journey of faith. God bless.